Utility Service Board to order. Since our board president and vice president are not in attendance tonight, the board needs to appoint a chair pro tem. And are there any motions to do that?
Nominating. Second.
Okay, so I've been nominated to be the chair pro tem. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Should we play any music or anything?
Back in the chair seat again. All right. So first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting on June 6th. Are there any questions or changes to the minutes? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting minutes are approved. Next up, approval of the claims. We have standard invoices in the amount of $1,128,833.96. Are there any questions on the invoices? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve standard invoices?
So moved.
And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up are utility bills in the amount of $141,210.52. Any questions on utility bills? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, utility bills are approved. Next are wire transfers in the amount of $383,433.33. Any questions on wire transfers? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, those are approved. Next are customer refunds in the amount of $814.22. Any questions on customer refunds? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, refunds are approved. Next is bond payments in the amount of $3,461,077.43. Any questions on bond payments? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda in the amount of $27,803.45. And I will turn this over to Vic Kilson.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
I'm happy to bring tonight's consent agenda. The first item is to Commonwealth Engineering for $4,138. This is a new not to exceed of $73,880. This is a First Amendment to expand the scope of work to remove the 3rd Street lift station and add the Basswood lift station. The second item is to Suez WTS Analytical Instruments, $5,463.45. This is plus system service and protection for the organic carbon analyzer at Monroe. Item C is to Harold Fish for $4,975 to replace and remove and replace a Climate Master TRC Tranquility Console HVAC unit. Item D is to Harold Fish for $3,800. This is a new not to exceed of $63,300. The First Amendment to expand the scope of work and extend the contract deadline for the air handler at Monroe. Item E is to Harold Fish for $650 for removal of kitchen equipment in the city easement at the Long Fei Chinese restaurant. And then item F is to Mitchell and Stark. This is a $0 amendment to extend the completion date due to weather conditions that slowed the site grading and seeding. Does any of the board members wish to consider one of these separately from the others?
Vic,
Hearing none? Yes.
I have, this is Jane, I have one question because item F on our agenda that we got here at the meeting says that it's ATC Group Services for $4,777.
Do I have the wrong one? Latrina, did that change?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. And is the rest of the information correct? It's just the name of the contractor?
Yeah, so the name of the contractor is different. It's for groundwater statistical analysis for Dillman landfill, and it's in the amount of $4,777.
Okay, I apologize for that. That wasn't on the version that I had pulled up. I apologize for that. Does anyone wish to consider any of these individually? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, the consent agenda will be approved as.
I see one hand up. Jim?
Thank you. And this really isn't questioning anything that's on the consent agenda. But I have a question about the not to exceed amounts. And I think it's okay since item 6 speaks of that. So even though some things in the consent agenda speaks to that, there's something else that's on the real agenda. So I'm okay with the consent agenda, but I would like an explanation on the not to exceed amounts. And I understood it, but I'm starting to see new NTEs. So if you have something that says a not to exceed, and then you add something, now you got a new not to exceed, then you add something, you got a new not to exceed. How does that work? I guess is my question. And it may not be appropriate now, maybe it's later in the meeting, but I'd like someone to.
My understanding is that your question really applies to any of the contracts that we're looking at, whether it's in the consent agenda or any of the other contracts that come before the board, because I've seen that not to exceed change as the price goes up.
And I think that's my question. And if it's going to change or you anticipate it, then I question why you would need a not to exceed in the first place.
Okay.
But
Is this something that I could address?
whomever.
Who is that?
This is Chris Wheeler with City Legal. If you would like an explanation from the legal department, I'd be happy to try and provide that for you.
I have a practical explanation too, so we can do both.
Yeah, so the parties agreed that you're right, ex officio Sims, that why would we even have a not to exceed? But oftentimes during the contract performance, when the contractor is doing the work that's been defined in the scope of work, the parties run into an unanticipated issue that needs to be addressed at the time that they're doing the work. And the parties then agree that they're going to amend that contract. And if it extends time for work and if it changes the scope or increases it more particularly, then you can anticipate that there will be additional expenses. And so the parties come to the board for a request to approve a new not to exceed for that new amount so that the parties can then move forward with that additional work. And that's all very legally appropriate, and it's reviewed by the controller's office and approved by the controller's office before it comes to this board.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler, and I'm not questioning legality at all. I'd like to hear the practical explanation now, if that's possible.
Well, so practically, if you look at this first one, we're taking the original scope of work and taking one lift station that was going to be worked on out of the contract and add a different lift station to that contract. This sort of thing can happen when you actually get into the field and begin the work. You can discover that maybe something that you thought was going to require more work requires less, or something you didn't require work at all, requires some work, and it's less effort to do to amend the contract, to do a change order, which changes the not to exceed amount, but it's more straightforward than going through the entire process again. So as long as the controller approves of it and the legal department approves of it, it's a more effective way to execute the contracts. We get the work done more quickly and efficiently.
Well, thank you. And again, I'm not questioning legality or the controller's aspect. And it makes sense because it would require a new contract. So if you say it's more efficient, we'll save time, we don't really want to go through all that, we'll just cut through all that by adding a new not to exceed. If that's the explanation, then thank you for that.
Okay. So, Vic, I don't think we had quite finished the consent agenda process.
Again, does anyone wish to consider any of these contracts individually? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, the consent agenda will be approved as recommended by staff.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no opposition, it's approved. Thank you.
All right. Next item is a request for approval of an agreement with Overlook on 46 LLC for increased contribution to the City of Bloomington utilities, $28,701. Phil Peden.
Good evening, Phil Bean, Engineering Department. This was a previous approved MOU with the developer to gain capacity within our sewer system, and we're proceeding with that. But as we were doing that, they have changed some of their design, and so they looked at, I think, some of the economics of whether they wanted 1 bedrooms with a den or 2 bedrooms, and the 2 bedrooms looked better from their standpoint, so they made a change. And so they didn't increase units, but they increased bedrooms per unit, which changes the flow capacity to the sewer, and therefore we needed to update the MOU so that we could remove that capacity out of with the I&I and the Clearwater Reduction Program to offset their flow. So we've updated the MOU, and I believe the total amount is an increase in $28,701. I would ask for the board's approval. Can answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Just a comment to the request did come before the Plan Commission. This change didn't trigger any site planning issues, but I did alert CBU because I was aware of the prior agreement, making sure that they were within those confines. And so thankfully, CBU reviewed that and amended the contract to accommodate for those changes. So I just wanted to point that out. Thanks.
Thank you,
And thank
Scott.
you very much for communicating that to us.
Any other questions? I had one. It's the opinion of CBU staff that addressing the increased flow that will accompany these extra bedrooms in the units, that can, addressing the infiltration, the I&I issues, will be able to cover that increased inflow by stopping infiltration into the system?
Yeah, so we're still in the beginning process of some of that, where we're trying to go out and survey the community in that sewer basin and find out which customers have sump pumps connected, and we're still pulling that data. We had about 200 survey responses that were returned out of 800, and I think, let me see, I did have some numbers. About half of those had sump pumps, but about 20 of those were firmly in their opinion that they were connected to the sewer and improperly connected. So about 10% of the 200 that said that completed the survey had a sump pump that was connected. So since then, we've started going door to door to try to locate more that were on the ones that didn't respond to the survey. So that's been fairly effective as well. So we're still in that process, but we do feel confident that we'll be able to do that. We're making the next steps to move forward with some rehabilitation projects as well, so that we're not just waiting on this sump pump data to come in. Door to door is going to take some time, and so we want to go ahead and make sure we're making progress on this. And so we are looking to do some rehabilitation in the neighborhood as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Sims?
Thank you. It's a simple question. Verbal verification, we're going door to door and surveys and all that, that's very good. Are there any other forms of confirmation or confirming that what you're getting is true and actual?
But we did door to door. We did a door hanger with one of the little codes where they can scan it with their phone and then complete the survey. And so we're trying everything we can to try to reach out to them and gain access to. We did hire a certified plumber to go into the homes that have said that they have a sump pump, so that we have a professional plumber to go in and recognize how they're connected and how to fix that connection. I don't know if that answered your question. Okay.
Thank you. Well, if there are no further questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve this agreement with Overlook on 46 LLC.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have a request for approval of an agreement with Paul Young Plumbing and Mechanical, Inc. for on-call repair services with a not-to-exceed amount of $50,000. James Hall.
Hi, James Hall, 80 Environmental Programs. I'm bringing you today a contract with Young Plumbing for $50,000 not to exceed. This is more of an on-call contract to replace any of the private side service lines that we may damage during the potholing event that Mr. Sherman, Mr. Devereaux came out and witnessed. So sometimes when we're doing that process of potholing, if there's a galvanized, it may be kind of held in place from the dirt that is around it. And if we take that dirt away, it may cause a leak. And this has happened once already during the short time that we've been doing this. And we want to have a private contractor on call and to replace that customer side. This isn't for the CBU side. This T&D staff will replace any of the CBU side of that. This is for the customer side. So if we run into that, or if it happens, which it already has, we'll have someone in place to do that. And this not to exceed amount is because we don't know what it is. And it's just, we're gonna go up to there. And if we get to this point again, then we'll reevaluate what's going on if we have to spend this much money, so. And any questions?
Jim.
I assume you've had a contract for some number of years, probably with the same plumbing group?
This group, yeah, they've done different things for the T&D group, and they were recommended. And we actually sent out, I've sent out a request by email to 4 different people, and they were the only ones that responded back to the request.
They're a good group. We use them at home.
Yeah.
So, but I just wondered, is 50,000 what you would expect in an average year in the past?
Well, we've never replaced the customer side. We anticipate it to be, depending on the length of the service line, between $2,500 and $5,000. That's kind of what we've seen before in the past. When we have encountered lead service lines, we give the property owner the chance to replace it, and we've helped them get quotes from plumbing services, and that's kind of what we've seen between $25,000 and $5,000. And so we think this will get us between 10 and 20 service line replacements if we.
But doing the new testing for lead is going to lead you to do a lot more digging. I'm just wondering whether you're likely to have a lot more need.
Yeah, we're hoping not. Yeah, we're hoping not. We were hoping not to use any of it, but just in case.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve this agreement with Paul?
Gene?
Yes.
Gene, it's Vic. I had my hand up.
I see.
This is, I just wanted to say that this is an item that, we've never had to do this before because we've never done a lead service line inventory before. So we really don't have a lot of history here. The idea here is to give us, to put enough out there that we can handle, maybe up to 10 instances where one of these customer side lines breaks while we're doing the inventory. We don't know whether we'll break 10 or whether we'll only have one. We've already had one. So this is one of those things where when we talked earlier about not to exceed amounts, this is an item where depending on what happens in the next several months, we may be coming back with an amendment to raise the not to exceed amount simply because we're having more trouble with this problem than we anticipated. Does that make sense?
All right. Thank you, Vic, for that clarification. All right. So is there a motion to approve this agreement with Paul Young Plumbing and Mechanical?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. All right. So I will ask, is there any old business from the board? Is there any old business from staff?
None.
All right. Any new business from the board? Jim Sherman.
I don't know whether this is new business or comment or what, but I'll put it here. James brought up the visit that Seth and I had for watching them test service lines for lead composition, and thanks for inviting us. You know, I just want people out there to know that the technology is amazing. I mean, they dig a hole 5 feet deep in a matter of a minute, and it exposes the pipe, and then you put down this magic wand and attach it to the pipe, and it tells you exactly what the element composition of that pipe is. I mean, you know, it was 98% lead, 1.5% tungsten, 0.5%, you know, copper. It was quite amazing. And maybe you'd want to say, Vic or James might want to say something additional about that. But also people out there, the ratepayers should know that CBU is doing this all over the city within the next year or so. So they'll likely be coming to your door and saying, we need to test your pipes for lead composition, and we hope that you'll be agreeable. You want to add anything, James or Vic?
No.
I'd like to say that we're going to call that the magic wand from now on.
Yes, I would just like to say, sorry, Vic, if you do get a right of entry form in the mail or an email from us, please reply back to that. It would be very helpful for us to complete the survey and kind of keep moving the program forward. So if you get something from us about wanting to test your service line, in particular a right of entry form, please respond back to that. It'd be very helpful for CBU.
Thank you. Well, I'm looking forward to getting that form. All right.
And
Go ahead, Vic.
Jim and Seth, I'd really like to thank you for coming out to watch that. It was good to have some board members there to see it. We had some press, and the mayor was there as well, so I thought it was very effective.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Any other new business from the board? All right. Any new business from staff?
None.
All right, thank you. I don't think we have any subcommittee reports, do we? Okay.
You hear me? I'm sorry.
So there are no subcommittee reports. So staff reports. Vic Hilson.
Just a couple of things. We have re-advertised the position of Assistant Director for Finance with some changes to the job description and to the salary range. We've also advertised the Assistant Director for T&D, and as some of you may know, Brad Schrader will be leaving us in July, so we've advertised the Assistant Director for Engineering as well. So they're all advertised for the next 3 weeks. And then the other thing I had was we had our first review of budget memo meeting with the mayor's office on Friday. It went well, and I'm very optimistic that things are going to go pretty smoothly with the rest of the budget process. So that's all I have.
Okay, and are there any questions for Vic from the board? Vic, I just wanted to check in. At our last meeting, I had checked to see how we were doing in terms of staff turnover in some of the frontline staff positions, and you'd given us an update on that. I'm just wondering, is the report from a couple of weeks ago still holding, or any new hires, any losses?
It's pretty much the same. We still have vacancies for laborers and line people in T&D, and we aren't getting a lot of applications, but we are moving quickly on them when we get them.
Okay, excellent. So, all right. Then if that's it for staff reports, are there any petitions and communications from the public? All right.
I have.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. Yes, okay, so, my neighborhood had a water main break, over the weekend, and I just wanted to thank the crews that came out to take care of it. I think they were probably there at least probably like 9 hours, or longer maybe, well into the middle of the night, on a weekend, on a holiday. They were all so kind. I know there were more people that were there, but I specifically talked to Kenny, John, Hunter, and Brandon, and I just wanted to thank them and all of you for all your work 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is an essential job, and you guys are out there doing it for our community every day. So thank you to everybody that's fixing those breaks every day, because I'm sure they're in every neighborhood somewhere every day, and mine just happened to be it this last week, so thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other petitions and communications from the public? All right. Then with that, is there a motion for us to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you.